Good morning and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two 40% alcohol silver rums. That's what I'm looking at this morning. This is Ronrico silver label. I bought this at Winn-Dixie. It was $9.99. I think I can still find it for that. Actually, after I bought it, I found it somewhere else for $8.99, but I guess those prices are going now. There's a cabana at the beach. There's the refrigerator making the squeal. There's some people at the cabana. You can see they're under the cabana drinking at the bar. It says this rum okay. This rum is a blend of the finest Caribbean whatever. Okay. It's getting blurry again. So it's a blend of different Caribbean rums. There's a recipe on the back for the Ronrico Caribbean Breeze. Distilled at Cruzan Rum Distillery, United States Virgin Islands. Bottled in Kentucky. I said bottled in Illinois. It's actually Kentucky. Let me update. I wasn't sure and I didn't have the bottle with me. I said I'll just change it if I'm wrong. Bottled. So they're both bottled in Kentucky. In fact, I'm going to fix something right now. So they're both 40% alcohol silver rums bottled in Kentucky with no website listing. Okay, got it. All right. So Ronrico introduced in 1860, believe it or not, 1860, and it was an independent company in Puerto Rico. And in the 1890s, the King of Spain, because remember Puerto Rico was part of Spain back then, he awarded Ronrico a royal insignia as a rum of Spanish grandees, meaning Spanish nobles. And they still use it on the bottle today, but you'd never know what that means if you didn't read the history of it. See? But no, it's not owned by this company that started it, and it's not even made in Puerto Rico anymore. Grismo Dog says, Tommy Bahama Gold Rum, one of my favorites. I've never had that one, but there's so many I haven't had. It's impossible to try them all. Here is Calypso Silver. Don't know when it was introduced. Never could find out a date. And I'm good at finding out dates for stuff. Rum with natural flavors, bottled by Sazerac North America. I never could find where it's made either. And there's a story about Calypso on the back. This Greek goddess, Calypso. But they're showing a ship from the colonial days. And on the front, there's like a British woman, Mrs. Captain Morgan. So the cover, the front label has no sense to it relative to the story of Calypso. But I guess they figured people would notice that, and probably most people don't. But I did. As soon as I read about it, I was like, what is this got to do with anything? Okay, so now, so far, my record has been poor. I've gotten it wrong 4 times, and I've only gotten it right twice. So 2 wins and 4 losses is not something to be proud of. It's something to be ashamed of. Why am I doing so poorly? I don't think it's my fault, honestly. I think it's just that Calypso is so similar to the rest. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a standard flavor. It doesn't stand out or distinguish itself from the others, okay? Which is good because it's much cheaper. I only paid $5.89 for that bottle. Now that I've shown you the bottles, we can turn the light on. $5.89 for a full-size bottle. at Ralston Liquors on Lyons Boulevard, Lyons, in Houston, Texas. And that is not a joke. And like I said, the Ronrico was $9.99. So either one of these is cheap, but this was $4 more. I can only go about what case I was in, the situation I was in. All right. Claremont and Frankfort, Kentucky. We know whose bottling plants are there. That's Jim Beam. And you can tell it's a James B. Beam bottle. It's the same exact bottle design as Beam's 8-Star, which is kind of an obscure Beam product. Same bottle design as Old Crow, but they use brown bottles, but same bottle design, the same shape as Old Granddad, and Old Granddad bottled in bond. Okay, so it's a common Beam bottle. Now, when did Beam take over Ronrico? Pretty sure it was in 1991 when they bought up a bunch of brands from Seagram's. Now, Seagram's, back when I was in high school and college, Seagram's was the world's biggest liquor company. They had the biggest liquor, liqueur. Oh yeah, I've seen Mount Gay all around, and that's from Jamaica, right? And I'd like to try it, but it's just a matter of getting to it. Yes, I've seen that. And it's another one that it's like eventually I'll get to it. Eventually I'll get through all the rums I've got currently at this house. Which, if you saw how many I had, you'd be like, dude, man, you all right? I'm all right. My situation is not all right with all these rums. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kept finding deals like, oh, that's a good deal. I'll save it for later, Then it piles up, and then you got a mountain of stuff, and then it's like, oh, I'm never going to get to what I wanted to get to, down the road. So it gets out of control in a sense. But it's you couldn't say, oh, you're going to go broke with all that. No, because it's like little, I paid a little bit here, a little bit there over years. And it's not, month to month, it wasn't really that much money put into it. All right. So real quick, once again, Ronrico got started years ago, and then they got acquired by Joseph Seagram's, probably during Prohibition, because that's when they went around swooping up people on the cheap, because most people couldn't produce liquor in the U.S. during Prohibition. So then after, it was one of their brands, and you can look at old magazine advertisements for Ronrico in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even in the 1970s. A lot of ads. They used to have contests for that company, sweepstakes. Everything was big. They had, you could win a Pontiac Firebird, Trans Am. Yeah, the Trans Am version. That was the grand prize, I think, in 1981. If you could get a silver one if you like the silver label, or you could get a gold if you like the gold label. You know what I'm saying? So that's how big it was. Then, Seagram started to slide down, starting in the mid 80s. Why? They had a new guy that took over, and because the older man died, and yeah, he was like all loosey goosey about what to do. Like, he wanted to invest in all kind of different companies. Like, they even owned DuPont chemical company at one point. So they just kept buying all of these different unrelated businesses, and I think they were putting out so much money to buy them, and they weren't really getting that much from them. Like, it was a situation where their payouts exceeded their revenue, which is not a good thing when you can't pay your note. Basically, it's like you bought a house but you can't pay the note. That's basically what they did. So you started noticing problems with that company. In 1984, they shut down their big division called General Wine and Spirits. And General Wine and Spirits was all their non-premium brands, any wine or liquor that wasn't like prominent, but it was under their umbrella, like Kamchatka vodka. Yeah. Stuff like that. And so, but at the same time, they were introducing new products like Canadian Hunter, Canadian whiskey, 84. It was like they're putting out stuff that didn't have any sense to it. It's like, well, you already have a big vodka a big Canadian whiskey brand called Crown Royal. And why don't you focus on that? That's the one that can make the most money. But then they're going to put out Canadian Hunter. But it's just like disorganization or whatever. And so then you started seeing everything dropping, 1984, they shut down General Wine and Spirits and laid off a bunch of their vice presidents. Bad sign. 1989, they made a big deal with Sazerac Company to sell a bunch of brands to them, like Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball. Never went anywhere with that. Sazerac took it and made it into just Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Now look, one of the big brands. It's like they didn't know how to market their products or whatever they were doing. And then Sazerac bought other stuff from them, a bunch of stuff from them. 2 years later, 1991, they sold a bunch of other stuff to Jim Beam Company, like Ronrico, and a bunch of other brands that you probably heard about but never cared about, like Calvert whiskey. Yeah, that was a Seagram's product that they had bought on the cheap. And then 9 years later, they were out of business. They started selling their company, sold all their distilleries. Sazerac got a hold of the one up there in Maine. The Crown Royal Distillery got sold to Diageo. The Seagram's Gin and Seagram's Vodka got sold to Pernod Ricard, and then so forth. So for 24 years now, Joseph Seagram's company is gone. He said, well, I see it all the time. I'll see Seagram's ginger ale. They got it at the grocery store. Yeah, Coca-Cola bought the rights to that. You can buy Seagram's vodka. That's very popular. You buy Seagram's gin, very popular, but it's not owned by them. They don't exist. They only sold the rights to the name and their factories, their distilleries and their bottling plants and everything. So it's simply a name that exists on paper. Like Ronrico. It was an actual company at one time, and it is actually not anymore. There's the train heading eastbound. And no, Calypso was never a company. It was just a brand that somebody came up with, and Sazerac got a hold of it, okay? Or they might have come up with it. Sazerac has developed... Sazerac has developed their own brands over the years, just... It had more success buying up other people's stuff for a discount price. But Sazerac rye whiskey, yes, that's their invention. In the year 2010, I think Sazerac rye came out 14 years ago. Southern Comfort was developed by Sazerac, but they had sold it. They had started it in New Orleans and sold it back, 80 years ago or something. To Brown Forman had it, and they end up selling it back to Sazerac in 2015. But Buffalo Trace, that was another one they had bought. They bought that from a company called Shenley Industries Distillery. They didn't think that sounded so great, so they changed the name to Buffalo Trace. And people be looking for Buffalo Trace all the time. To be like, y'all got Buffalo Trace? I heard somebody had a story yesterday asking, y'all have Buffalo Trace? And the lady said, yeah. The girl said, yeah. Would we see people doing that today, saying, do y'all have Shenley? Do y'all have Shenley Industries bourbon? I don't know. Maybe they would be tracking it down. Okay, enough's enough. It smells like the same old thing, rum. Like, these white rums have like a sharpness to the nose, and that's from those sugarcane stalks. It's like burning. It's almost like so much sugar it burns. It's like, I don't know if it's an acidic quality to it or something, but it will burn your nose. If you ever bit down on a sugarcane stalk, the pulp, it'll burn your teeth. It's too sweet, too sugary. It's too much. It's like too everything. So that's why they are mellowed down to these products. Plus the fermented then distilled, of course, from the white molasses, the light molasses. Okay, this one's much more vanilla in the nose. Now it smells like vanilla extract. And this is not a joke. And do they add vanilla extract to the Calypso? I don't know what they add into it. All I know is they say natural flavors, plural. That means more than one flavoring. My suspicion is that vanilla is one of them, but I can't say what it is because I don't know. Mm-hmm. Is it a true rum? It's a true rum with natural flavors. So you're allowed to add flavor into rum. Just look at your regulations. And you don't even have to disclose this. So this could have flavor in it and they don't have to say. And I don't know what Jim Beam's policy is. You know, Beam Suntory, I don't know what their policy is about disclosure on that. Sazerac's pretty upfront about it. They just tell you, we have flavor. That's why it's $6, you know. But they don't say that, but that's what they are implying. All right, taste, cheers. So they smell fine, you know. Ooh. Oh man, these things whoa. You got to explore these really cheap rums. You got to go, I mean, you don't have to, but it'd be fun. Go to the store, go to the stove and buy, like you said, I have $40. Yeah, buy 4 different under $10 rums. Get the white label because the silver ones they'll expose the most flavor, you know, because like they're most basic ones, you know, they're not aged or anything generally. So if it's got any kind of weird flavor or whatever, it'll just scream it out, you know. So it'll be a fun little project if you can handle it. All right, so this one's got a lot of alcohol, like woo, like a siren going off. But it doesn't taste bad, but it's loud, you know. You say no, it's not demure. No, it's not demure. This one is a little softer, but I think it's by virtue of that vanilla flavoring, which means I think it's the Calypso. When I talked to Buffalo Trace last year on the phone, could have been 2022. Time flies when you're having fun, right? The man said, yeah, for about 5 years now, we've been adding natural flavoring to all our low end products. This was his terminology, low end products. Accurate, you know. He said, in order to smooth them out, his words, smooth them out. Then he said, I don't know what the flavoring is. I don't have access to that information. He said, but my suspicion is that it's vanilla. This is him, his own commentary, not representing the company. He represented the company discussing the products. But he said, my guess is, that's his guess, that it was vanilla. He said, but I can't say because I don't know. But I've tasted these products and I think he's probably on the right track. Does it smooth it out? It does seem to a little bit. Or if you want to say it masks imperfections and harshness and bitiness. Yeah, it's probably all true. Ronrico. I'm saying this is Ronrico. Is this a sipper? Well, depends on what you want to subject yourself to, you know. You see what I mean? But why do they have a recipe right on the back to make a cocktail? Because they know what they're selling. But Caribbean Breeze. You need the rum, pineapple juice, cranberry juice, lime wedge. And that's going to, and ice, and then it goes on and on. And that's going to cover up this unadulterated, like I said, ambulance siren approach. I cannot see Jim Beam executives sitting there at the corporate office sipping on this after lunch. But maybe they do. Maybe they do, but I seriously doubt it. You might be sipping on some Knob Creek 40-year, you know, specialty that's $600 a bottle. 2 and 5. Oh, this is great. 2 and 5. 2 wins, 5 losses. Yeah, that's the Calypso. That's the Calypso with the loud ambulance siren approach. Okay, yikes. Every time I try it, it tastes different. Now, what do I say about whiskey? I say if you get a whiskey and you drink it by itself, on its own, right? It'll taste a certain way and you can make notes on it, taste the notes. If you want to write them down, say, look, this is what I found out about it. Good, do that. Then you take that whiskey and you put it up against whiskey A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, other ones. Every time you taste it, it'll be different against each one of these. And it's like different whiskeys bring out different characteristics of it. And I guess that's what's happened with this rum. I tried the Calypso on its own and it had a certain flavor, which was kind of loud and kind of screamy, you know, alcohol like nya like this morning. Then I put it in competition and it seemed sweeter. Like I was like, oh, vanilla, sweet, sugar cream, and so forth. And I thought, okay, now I'm getting on track. I'm getting it right. But I've only gotten it right twice and I've gotten it wrong 5 times. Once again, I don't think it's necessarily my fault. I think it's just a case of Calypso being so similar to the average flavor of rum. What I mean is, as the United States government would call it, it must have the aroma and flavors generally associated with rum. If you read the regulations for rum, it'll say having the aromas and flavors generally associated with rum. That's legally, it has to be that. You can't make a rum that tastes like whiskey. I mean, you could, but you'd have to call it whiskey flavored rum. You know what I'm saying? If you're just calling it rum, it's got to taste like what people generally associate with rum. Can't taste like tomato paste. It can't taste like a lemon meringue pie. It can't taste like beer. It's got to taste like white rum, as people reasonably consider what that is. And that's what this does. And that's why it's so confusing. You say, well, so what you're trying to say is that all these common rums have a common flavor. That's exactly what I'm saying. These common rums have a common flavor. Now you get some oddities like Caliber. Caliber is off the chain with their peculiarness because most rums don't taste like strawberry shortcake. And I would say that Caliber does really violate the rule. It does violate the regulation because it has a flavor that is not generally associated with rum. But then A, no one's going to care, and B, there's no one going to report them to the Tax and Trade Bureau. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like a non-issue. Even if you reported it to them, they'd say, well, you only paid $11.99. I mean, yeah, technically it might violate the rule, but the people are going to Walmart, they're buying it, you know. It's not like they paid $50 and they got ripped off. They paid like the lowest price. Okay, Ronrico. Since it was smoother, I thought it was the Caliber, but it's smoother because it's the Ronrico. Okay, so would I buy Ronrico over Bacardi? I wouldn't prefer it over Bacardi. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that straight up. I would not prefer it over Bacardi. But if I could save $4, yeah, I'd buy it over Bacardi. Yeah, save $4. What the heck? But then why save $4? Why not save $8 and buy this? Now you're saving $8 over Bacardi. Not as good of a product. Not as delightful. But then if you're going to bury it in syrup and all kind of different juices and ice, it ain't going to really matter. And even if you did a taste test, neat to neat, you know, no additives, room temperature, got Bacardi straight and got this straight, room temperature. You're not going to confuse the two. When I get to that one, there's no way I'm going to get it wrong. But you're going to notice that it's really not that much better. I mean, it's better. It's not $8 better. So that's what I'm saying. Can you save yourself a lot of money by buying the cheapest rum you can find? Yeah. So far, I've noticed that. Is it going to come out bad? No, unless you buy that spice rum from Walmart, the Caliber. That was in the regular size bottle. That was a disaster. That was horrible. That really was horrible. I couldn't even try to make an excuse for that one. I shouldn't have bought it. When I saw it said contains distilled spirits, grain alcohol, I was like, I should have put it right back on the shelf. Funny thing is, if you get the full size bottle, the big jug bottle, it doesn't say that. It's like that. It's two different products, same label, all right, same name, but not the same product, because there's only one difference in the label. The big jug bottle says rum, and 750 says rum with distilled grain spirits, I think it says. And that is an alarm that you should take very seriously. I did not take it seriously, and I paid for it. And it was really miserable. I was like, I am not wasting it. I don't care how cheap it was. I'm going to drink every bit of it. And I did, and it was miserable. It even made the coffee taste bad. I would pour a little bit in the morning, like about an ounce or two in a cup of coffee with milk and just coffee, no sugar. I said, man, this makes the coffee taste bad. Nothing can mask it. Nothing can mask the horror. But with these two, it's nothing like that. They're fine. Amazing. Yeah, sure. They're amazing. No, obviously not. Wonderful. I wouldn't go that far. Excellent. Doubt it. How about good? They're just good, like a B. Yeah, they're good. B, 83, 84. Good. Yeah, they're good. And they have a great price. So they're good rums for a great price. There you go. Short story long, that's the answer. So would I recommend Caliber? Calypso. Would I recommend Calypso? Yes, I would. I'm glad I bought it, and I'm happy with it. Not amazed by it. I don't adore it, but it's got me confounded to no end, as you can see by the evidence by these videos where I can't get it right. So that's a strong argument for it. Ronrico, yeah, I like it. Glad I didn't buy the handle. Could have. I could have gotten the big jug bottle for $12.99. They had it for $12.99, and I'm not kidding about that. But I said, nah. I think 750 milliliters would serve the purpose and do just fine. And it has, and it is doing just fine. And I still have a good 25% of the bottle left. So, yeah, that's working out just right. Can I somehow climb out of this hole? 2 wins, 5 loss hole? I think I could, but it better start happening quick, because it's getting scary. And I don't have an endless amount of white rums. I have a good amount coming up, but I don't have an endless amount. So there you go. All right, well, I'll go watch the news now and think about this. I got to get off the air now. I got a lot of things to work out in my head. Thank you, Calypso, for causing me cognitive dissonance, depression, anxiety, sadness, and everything. Oh, right. She holds you prisoner, and she doesn't even have, oh, man.